Everything is in place. The chips are lined up for them, and if they can move past them and make it to the Eastern Finals, I think that they can really take home Lord Stanley's Cup.
Yeah, man. NHL playoffs again, on in Poppington. So that's popping off right now. Also have the NFL draft going on as we speak. Number one pick in this year's NFL draft, quarterback Jared Goff out of University of California, Cal Berkeley.
I'm not convinced. I'm not sold on him.
I mean, I watched a few of Cal's games. He can play, and I watched a few of Cal's games, and he can't play sometimes. So, I mean, you never know how they transition to the NFL. I don't watch game film like, a Ron Jaworski or John Gruden, but I mean, he's good, I guess. Number 2 pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz, quarterback out of North Dakota State. Again, 4-time national champion at North Dakota State, so he is a champion. You can't say that about him. Big kid, strong arm. FCS level, I don't look at that as being a negative, because if you can play, you can play. But some people may look at that as a negative. You played at the FCS level, you were a multiple-time champion, you could play. So, that's either hit or miss with Carson Wentz. Number 3 pick, San Diego Chargers, Joey Bosa. Number 4 pick, pretty interesting, Zeke Elliott, running back out of Ohio State, goes to the Cowboys. So Ohio State, Urban Meyer has the number 3 pick and number 4 pick in the NFL draft. So if you're Jim Harbaugh and you're recruiting against Urban Meyer, you need to step your game up, fool. Because Urban Meyer had the number 3 pick and he has the number 4 pick in the NFL draft. Rounding out the top 5 is Jalen Ramsey, cornerback / safety out of Florida State, staying in the state of Florida, being selected 5th overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You think he's happy to be selected to the Jaguars, Daimeon?
I don't think he's sad. I mean, he went from having no money to now he has money. So I don't think he's sad. But I mean, I'm sure that he would like for his team to be better. But, if you're in the top 5 of the draft, your team is coming off a bad season. But the beautiful thing about the NFL, you can go from having 4 wins one season to having 12 wins the next season. So the NFL is a week by week, season by season type thing. So, teams, it's hard to build a dynasty in the NFL with free agency. So the Jaguars could quite possibly be good next year. We just don't know.
Yeah, they probably won't be good though. Let's be realistic.
Hey, man, I'm just giving, all the Jaguar fans. Shout out to David Garrard, man, my quarterback from high school, one of the best quarterbacks in Jaguar history. I'm just giving all Jaguars fans, a ray of hope that they're going to have a good season this year. Now, I'm going to segue this beautifully, talking about the NFL draft, into our interview for today's show.
Yes, sir. We had a chance for one of South Carolina's all-time great receivers. I call him Pharoh Super Cooper. He was able to, call into the show a little while ago, and we were able to record his interview before he got ready for his draft festivities. Again, salute to that brother for showing us love and taking the time out. So we're going to play that interview right now. Pharoh Cooper of the University of South Carolina. We have a very special guest on the line, a young man that led the South Carolina Gamecocks in receiving the past 2 seasons, making his mark in the Southeastern Conference and proving that he is one of the top wide receiver prospects in this year's NFL draft, Mr. Pharoh Cooper. Pharoh, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Pharoh, you being from Havelock, North Carolina, and Daimeon and myself being from Durham, North Carolina, we understand it's a lot of talent coming through the great state of North Carolina, man. Just talk to us a little bit about how it was coming up in Havelock, how you got into sports, football specifically, and how you turned that into an opportunity to get an education at the University of South Carolina and further your football career there.
Growing up in Havelock, there's not really much to do. It's a military base, probably 10 stoplights total. Just growing up in Havelock, really nothing to do but play sports and go to the beach. Everybody knows each other in the community, just from states over, cities over, New Bern, Moorhead. So going to Havelock, everybody plays sports, football, baseball, basketball growing up. A lot of the players' parents and was the team coaches, so everybody was pretty close. And then just growing up from there, stayed in Havelock my whole life. Played for Havelock High School. I earned a scholarship to University of South Carolina. committed as a defensive back and got switched to a receiver once I got there.
Now, Pharoh, this is Daimeon. Thanks again for joining us. Now, you spoke a little bit about Havelock being from North Carolina. It's a military-type town, home to, I believe, the U.S. Marine Corps. Shout out to my homie, DeMark Stewart, one of my linebackers from high school. His son is playing right now at Havelock High School. He's a former Marine, so he's always talking about Havelock, talking about how you guys won back-to-back state championships when you were there. Now, you parlayed that into your scholarship to the University of South Carolina. Now, transitioning from the high school game to the college game, was that difficult for you, especially with the position change, or was it a seamless transition for you?
Well, basically, coming from high school to college was kind of a easy transition. Coming from high school, I had 2 state championships in the previous 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, where we didn't win it. We were a game away from going. So growing up in Havelock, playing for the Havelock High School, it was always a winning tradition. So, everybody always had a winning attitude when we stepped on the field, or even off the field, So winning was, always part of us. Our coaches installed that in us. I probably lost 5 games my whole high school career. So just transitioning from high school to college, it was pretty easy. The main thing was just to go out there and compete, and find a way to win. That was the main thing, growing up winning and finding a way to compete. So it kind of made it easy.
And what led to you going to the University of South Carolina and choosing Columbia as your home for the next 3 years of your life?
SEC football, it's the best college football conference out. Like I said, I was a defensive back coming out of high school. South Carolina was known for DBU, putting defensive backs in the NFL. So, I wanted to be a part of that tradition, carry that tradition and go to the NFL as a defensive back. So that was kind of the main, that was probably the main factor in it, going to the SEC, especially South Carolina, to play defensive back, and they put DBs in the league.
Now, Pharoh, you speak about going to the SEC country playing for South Carolina. Now, anyone who knows me know that I'm a huge NC State fan. I back the Pack.
Pack life.
Why on God's green earth did the NC State Wolfpack let you leave the state to play football? You didn't want to run with the Pack? So you're going to do me like that? You're just going to leave the state, not run with the Pack?
I was actually considering the Pack. They offered me to. That was one of my 4 offers. NC State, North Carolina, and ECU, my only 3 offers besides South Carolina. But NC State, I like their program. I visited. I actually went to their facility for a visit. I just, like I said, I had to go with the SEC football, man.
So I think you made a wise choice because you had a stellar career in Columbia, and I expect you to be. I know you expect yourself to be, picked in these next couple days for the NFL draft. So for that, young man, I salute you, and I wish you much success. So I'm going to lob it back to Pierre.
And Pharoh, you went into a situation to where you're playing for one of the best offensive minds that the sport has seen in Steve Spurrier. So you go into the situation, a lot of good talent on that team, a lot of talent at the wide receiver core. How did you, a young man from Havelock, South Carolina, go from being a DB to the leading receiver at, again, a team that has so much depth and talent at wide receiver?
Learning the plays and, being consistent, that was kind of the main thing, anything, but especially with football, just being consistent on the field, learning the plays, and just really hard work. When I switched from DB, I was meeting with Seth and Coach Spurrier Jr., 2 to 3 times a week on my own, just to learn the whole offense, learn the plays. And then I just kept getting reps and reps. I started playing out wildcat quarterback and punt returner. So they saw that I could make plays when I had the chance. And I started that receiver next year, and then just went from there.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, listening to the All Things Sport podcast, what Pharoh just let you know is that if you prepare yourself and you take advantage of the opportunities that are laid before you, then great things can happen. Again, Pharoh Cooper, University of South Carolina wide receiver, looks to be picked pretty high in this upcoming NFL draft. Now, Pharoh, again, I have to ask you, man, you being from the state of North Carolina and being from Havelock, that's the beach area. What are your some of the favorite things that you like to do when you go home to Havelock?
When I come down here, I usually visit family, which is in New Bern, North Carolina. That's where all my family's pretty much at down here, or that's pretty much where they're at. And then back in Havelock, I just pretty much go to the beach. If this, it's nice, sunny, kind of how it is right now. You know, you can go to the beach. It's pretty much the main thing to do. If you have, like, you either working, you at the beach, or you playing football, or you working on base. So that's really how it is. Probably the main thing to do is just go to the beach if you want to, have fun, go and chill with your friends.
Now, Pharoh, your sophomore year is where you really made your bones and burst onto the scene. Talk a little bit about that historic game you had against the University of Tennessee back in 2014, where you set the single game record for receiving yards with 233 yards. Were you just in a zone, or how did you feel that day? And did you know what was taking place?
I felt, besides the fact that we lost, I felt great. That's probably my most, second most, favorite memory from playing football in South Carolina after my touchdown pass against Clemson. But, that game, I was kind of just locked in the zone. I didn't even know I had broke the receiving yards until after the game. And it was just, I don't know, I was kind of in the zone. I had all my family there. I had all my high school coaches there. I was playing against two of my best friends. They was both on Tennessee at the time. One's still there, the other one transferred. So it was a big game, coming into this game. I knew I had a workload. So Dylan just kept feeding me the ball, and then it kind of just went from there. I was pretty much locked in the zone after I scored the first one.
Pharoh, a lot of great memories, from the University of South Carolina. Another one, I went to the game last season before last, when you guys played Texas A&M. And, Texas A&M came out and pretty much, they handed it to you guys, but you were one of the lone bright spots on in that game, scoring, on a very long touchdown reception. I remember that specifically, and I asked Pierre, like, who's that kid that scored those touchdowns? He was like, he's from North Carolina, so I looked you up. And again, I go back to the NC State question. Why on God's green earth did NC State not recruit this young man? I'm going to leave it alone. But I think we need to go to commercial, Pierre.
We're going to take a little break here on the All Things Sport podcast and come back with the second half of that interview with Pharoh Cooper, formerly of the University of South Carolina Gamecocks, right here on the All Things Sport podcast with Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio.
Thank you for listening to the All Things Sport podcast with Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks. Be sure to check out the In My Humble YouTube channel for all your sporting needs.
What up? This is Pierre Banks, and when I'm back in Boone watching the Mountaineers, my first stop is always Mountaineer Mania. The good folks at Mountaineer Mania have the widest selection of app gear, so you can cheer on the Mountaineers in style. T-shirts, hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, decals, cornhole sets. I mean, if you need it, they've got it. So head on down to Mountaineer Mania at 497 West King Street in Boone and tell them I sent you.
Hi, this is Daimeon Banks. Thank you for listening to the All Things Sport podcast. You can also catch me on the Puff TV Morning Combo on Blog Talk Radio every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Call 347-677-0956 and I'll give you Sports by Daimeon.
The All Things Sport podcast.
We go back like spinal cords and car seats.
With Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio.
And we are back on the All Things Sport podcast. Pierre, what an outstanding interview. I am super impressed with Pharoh Super Cooper.
That's my dude, man.
Very interesting story. Very accomplished football player from high school to college, and now with his aspirations of playing at the next level, and he will be playing on Sundays.
Absolutely. You talked about that a little bit, and some of the things that were going on with his testing and preparation for the combine and his pro day, and how he didn't really feel that the testing played a major part in what you can do on a football field. We'll get to that and a little bit more here on the second part of the interview. You guys take a listen. Pharoh, now the big buzz for you, man, coming off your junior season, and you're looking to be one of the top wide receivers selected this coming weekend. Pharoh, talk a little bit about your preparation, getting ready for your combine, your pro day activities. Where did you go? What were some things that you were looking to work on and improve, and some things that you were looking to show the NFL pundits and scouts that you can do?
Well, like I said, right after right after the last game of the season, then we have a bowl game. So I kind of started my draft progress